Let me paint a picture for you here. And I'm willing to bet it's one you are intimately familiar with.
Oh, I'm sure I am too.
Right. So it's 11 p.m. The house is finally quiet. You're lying in bed, just exhausted from the day, and you tell yourself that very familiar, very dangerous lie.
The famous 5 minutes lie.
Yes. I am just going to spend 5 minutes on my phone to unwind lie. So you open an app, you start swiping, and then the next thing you know, you blink, you look at the time, and it is suddenly 1:30 in the morning.
Just poof, the time is entirely gone.
Exactly. Your eyes ache from the screen, you feel entirely drained. And if someone were to walk into the room right at that moment and ask you what you actually just watched for the last 2.5 hours, you probably couldn't remember a single thing.
No, you couldn't. It is a profoundly empty feeling. I mean, you don't just feel tired. You feel a very specific kind of cognitive fatigue.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
You actually feel worse than before you open the app in the first place.
Yeah. You really do. But there's a wild contrast happening in that exact moment. Because while you were lying there in the dark, mindlessly scrolling away a significant chunk of your sleep, someone else on the other side of that screen was using the exact same platform.
Right, during those exact same 2 hours.
Exactly. During those same 2 hours, they were using it to grow an audience or test a new idea and actually, build a living.
It really is the ultimate modern paradox, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, you have this exact same digital space acting as a complete black hole for one person's time, and then it's a launch pad for another person's entire livelihood.
And that contrast, that paradox, is the mission of our deep dive today. We have a fascinating stack of materials on the table for this one. We're looking at a collection of behavioral psychology papers, some neuroplasticity research, and case studies on the modern creator economy.
A really diverse set of sources.
Yeah, and they all explore the architecture of attention. So we're going to explore how these digital ecosystems are specifically engineered to trap your focus and how they fundamentally reshape how your brain processes reality.
Which is terrifying but fascinating.
Right. We will get into the profound psychological toll of the quote-unquote perfect content we consume on a daily basis. But mostly, we're going to look at how to flip the script.
That's the most important part.
Exactly. We're going to explore how you can shift your relationship with these tools to build your own opportunities without needing anyone's permission.
And, that shift is arguably the most vital skill a person can develop right now, because these platforms, they evolved past casual entertainment years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
They are now massive ecosystems of influence, income, and identity. So depending entirely on your approach, this technology is either an engine actively moving your life forward, or it is an anchor quietly holding you back.
Let's start with the mechanics of that 1:30 a.m. regret, because I think the scariest part about losing those 2 hours is how entirely normal it feels.
It's so passive.
Right. It creeps up on you. You never sit down on the couch and consciously think, I am now going to throw away a massive fraction of my evening.
No one schedules doom scrolling.
Exactly. It always starts small. You just want a mental break. But when you finally snap out of it, the immediate reaction is intense guilt. You tell yourself you lack discipline or, that your willpower is completely broken.
And we really need to dismantle that guilt, because viewing this as a failure of personal willpower is, it's a fundamental misunderstanding of the environment you are operating in.
How so?
Well, when you open one of these endless feeds, you are stepping into an arena that has been engineered by thousands of the brightest minds on the planet. And they have one singular goal: removing natural stopping points.
Natural stopping points. Right, think about how traditional media used to be structured, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like a television show reaches the end of the episode, the credits roll, and a commercial comes on. Or a book has chapters, and eventually it has a physical back cover.
A magazine literally runs out of pages.
Right.
Exactly. And those physical or structural limits, they provide built-in subconscious signals to your brain. They create this brief moment of friction where your brain is prompted to ask, do I want to continue doing this, or do I want to move on to something else?
Right. It forces a choice.
But the infinite scroll eliminates that friction entirely. There is no end. The platform constantly adjusts in real time based on what holds your attention for the longest fraction of a second.
Wow.
Yeah, it delivers a continuous, completely frictionless stream of fast videos and instant rewards.
The best way to visualize this, and I love this analogy, is to imagine sitting down at a table to eat a bowl of soup.
Okay, I like soup.
Right. So normally you eat until you physically see the bottom of the bowl. That visual cue is what tells your brain, the soup is gone, The meal is over, you are satisfied.
The visual cue is the stopping point.
Yes. But the endless scroll is like eating from a bottomless bowl that is secretly refilling itself from a tube hidden underneath the table.
That sounds like a nightmare, honestly.
Right, because you never get that visual cue of the bowl emptying. You just keep eating way past the point of being full. The signal to stop simply never arrives.
And the absence of that signal, it has deep neurological consequences over the long term. Because it is not just about the hours you lose in that specific evening.
Oh, bigger than that.
Much bigger. This constant, rapid-fire, high-stimulation input fundamentally retrains your attention.
Retrains it.
Yeah, your brain is highly adaptive. When you spend hours every day immersed in an environment that bombards you with, flashy visuals, rapid context switching, and immediate microdoses of dopamine.
Your brain just gets used to it.
Exactly. Your brain actually resets its baseline for what it considers to be a quote-unquote normal level of stimulation.
So the real world, like the physical world outside the phone, suddenly can't compete.
It can't even come close. And this is the consequence that cascades into every other area of your life.
Yeah.
Because your cognitive endurance has adapted to the hyperspeed of the feed, everyday activities start to feel agonizingly slow. Normal, deep work feels impossible.
Oh man, sitting down to study feels physically exhausting.
Right. Even sitting across a table and having an unedited, normal-paced conversation with a friend can suddenly feel understimulating.
That makes so much sense. So when people say their attention span is destroyed, it hasn't actually disappeared.
No, none at all.
It has just been hyper-optimized for an artificial environment. Like reading a static page of text for 20 minutes feels agonizing because your brain is just sitting there, subconsciously waiting for the novelty of the next swipe.
Precisely. You are conditioning yourself to expect a new narrative, new joke, or a new piece of information every 3 to 5 seconds. And the physical world simply does not operate on that timeline.
Okay, so if the mechanics of the endless scroll drain our time and retrain our attention span, the actual content of what we are scrolling through drains our mindset.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's get into why we so often feel emotionally hollow after we finally put the phone down.
This is where the psychological toll really compounds. While you are in that hyper-receptive, cognitively fatigued state we just talked about, you are taking in a volume of social information that the human brain was absolutely never evolved to process in a single sitting.
Right. There's a perfect example in the research discussing a user watching a video of someone's perfect morning routine. And, I mean, you know exactly the type of video.
Oh, everyone knows the exact type of video.
Right. The creator wakes up at 5 a.m. looking completely refreshed without a single hair out of place. Their bedroom is spotless. The morning sunlight is hitting their aesthetically perfect linen sheets at just the right angle.
Everything is glowing.
Yes. They make a beautifully frothy matcha latte. They do 30 minutes of peaceful journaling and head off to crush their glamorous day.
The aesthetic is completely flawless.
But, and here's the catch, the behind-the-scenes reality of that video requires intense staging. I mean, to get that effortless look, it requires multiple takes, careful lighting setups, and meticulous pre-planning.
Yeah, it's a production.
Exactly. The creator might have spent 3 exhausting hours just making that 30-minute routine look perfect for the camera.
And we have to ask, what happens to the viewer who watches that highly produced vignette while sitting in their own messy bedroom feeling exhausted and running late for a job they feel indifferent about?
It hurts.
It does. There is a crucial psychological concept at play here from the research. Awareness doesn't cancel influence.
Awareness doesn't cancel influence. That is a fascinating phrase.
That really is.
Why does knowing it's staged not protect us from feeling bad about it? Like, I know it's fake, so why do I still feel inadequate?
It really comes down to evolutionary biology. Your logical prefrontal cortex might look at that video and say, I know this is edited. I know they have a ring light off camera. I know nobody actually wakes up looking like that.
Right.
But your emotional brain, specifically the ancient, deeply ingrained circuitry that processes social hierarchy, it doesn't understand video editing software.
It just sees another human being.
Exactly. The human brain evolved in small tribes, where understanding your social status was quite literally a matter of life and death.
Okay.
If you were falling behind, if someone else was gathering better resources or displaying higher status, your brain sounded an alarm bell because it meant you were at risk of being ostracized from the tribe.
So it's a survival mechanism.
Yes. So when you watch that fake perfect morning routine, your amygdala absorbs that image as a genuine standard of reality. It instantly processes the massive gap between their perfect life and your chaotic morning, and it triggers that ancient fear of falling behind.
That's incredible.
Yeah, even with a conscious awareness that the content is artificial, it quietly erodes your confidence.
That is genuinely tragic. I mean, most people think they're just consuming a little bit of light entertainment to pass the time.
Right, just relaxing.
But in reality, they are consuming illusions. Instead of focusing on their own tangible progress, the small, messy, real steps they're taking to improve their own lives, they're using this incredibly skewed measuring stick.
Exactly.
They are measuring their unedited, behind-the-scenes reality against a total stranger's highly curated highlight reel.
And over time, that constant, unwinnable comparison completely shifts your internal focus. Instead of looking inward at your own growth and feeling proud of your own incremental improvements, your gaze becomes permanently fixed outward.
You're just constantly looking at everyone else.
Yes, you live in a constant state of feeling inadequate in a race that isn't even real.
Mm.
Honestly, when you look at the sheer scale of the psychological damage, the hijacking of our attention, the destruction of our baseline dopamine, the evolutionary trap of comparing ourselves to millions of fake highlight reels, it is very easy to look at these digital ecosystems as a complete net negative for human flourishing.
It sounds like a dystopia.
It does. You can easily argue we are just trapped in a digital casino designed to make us miserable.
Okay, I hear that, but I have to completely disagree with that conclusion.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I look at this exact same technology and see something entirely different.
Hmm.
And I think it is far too easy to just paint this as a dystopia. Yes, the psychological traps are real and they are dangerous. We just outlined exactly how dangerous they are.
Very dangerous.
But if we only look at the negative side, we are ignoring the fact that this technology is also the greatest democratizer of opportunity in human history.
Okay, how do you mean? Expand on that.
Well, think about how difficult it was to build an audience or launch an idea, just say, 30 years ago.
It was nearly impossible for an average person.
Exactly. If you wanted to reach people, start a business, or share a creative project, the barrier to entry was astronomically high. You needed massive funding. You needed inside industry connections.
Right.
Most importantly, you needed gatekeepers. You needed a television producer, a magazine editor, or a record label executive to literally grant you permission to be seen by the public.
That's very true.
Today, those gatekeepers are gone. You don't need a degree. You don't need a business loan. You just need the device that is already sitting in your pocket. You can create your own opportunity from absolute scratch.
You make a very fair point. It is the great equalizer. And this is exactly why it is such a paradox.
Right.
While a large portion of the population is trapped in that comparison cycle we just talked about, a small percentage of people recognize that this is a completely open infrastructure. They're utilizing the exact same platform to build something genuinely meaningful.
Yes, exactly.
And the unique defining advantage of the modern digital era is that effort is visible.
Effort is visible. Man, that is the fundamental difference between the past and the present.
It really is.
Historically, you could work incredibly hard in your garage on an invention or write a brilliant manuscript in your living room, and no one would ever know it existed unless a beekeeper unlocked the door for you.
You could be a genius in total obscurity.
Right. Today, if you put in the effort, and more importantly, if you are consistent with it, the world can actually see your work. You have direct, unimpeded access to the global market of attention. The distribution channel is completely free and open to anyone willing to step into the arena.
It is a profound shift in leverage. I mean,
Wow.
you no longer need permission to try.
Which brings us to the practical application of all this research, because social media obviously isn't going anywhere, and let's be real, throwing our phones into the ocean isn't a viable career strategy in the modern world.
As tempting as it is sometimes.
Right. So how do you, as the listener, actually navigate this? How do you survive the psychological traps we discussed and actually harness that leverage?
The solution lies entirely in how you interact with the tool. It is not about digital abstinence. It is about replacing passive habit with active intention.
Active intention. The way I like to think about it is like walking into the biggest, most incredible library in the world. Imagine a building with millions of books covering every topic, skill, and idea known to humanity. If you went to a library like that, you wouldn't just wander the aisles aimlessly, staring at the spines of the books without ever pulling one off the shelf to actually read it.
No, you'd go looking for something.
Exactly. And you certainly wouldn't let someone else just hand you random magazines while you stood in the lobby. You would walk through those doors with a specific purpose. You would know what section you were looking for.
That's a great analogy.
We have to treat our devices exactly the same way. The problem isn't the app itself. The problem is opening it just because you are bored or anxious. You have to decide your agenda before your thumb ever hits the icon.
Right, before the algorithm decides for you.
Yes. Are you opening this to learn a specific skill today? Are you opening it to share a project you have been working on? Or are you just trying to build a connection with a specific community?
You are describing a fundamental shift in identity here. The vital transition is moving from being a passive consumer to being an active creator or contributor.
Right.
When you make that psychological shift, the entire dynamic of the platform changes. You are no longer just sitting in the stands watching other people play the game. You are actually stepping onto the field.
And we should definitely clarify what the word creator actually means in this context, because I think that word scares a lot of people off.
Oh, for sure.
Being a creator does not mean you have to be dancing in your kitchen, trying to go viral, or oversharing your personal life.
Not at all. It doesn't require going viral,
Yeah.
and it certainly doesn't require quitting your day job to become a full-time influencer.
Right. Thank goodness.
Yeah, being a creator simply means contributing value. It requires small, consistent actions over a long period of time. It could mean documenting your journey as you struggle to learn a new coding language.
Or sharing insights on urban gardening or whatever you're into.
Exactly. It could be starting a small side hustle, selling digital organization templates. It is simply about leaving a digital footprint of your interests and your expertise. The exact same infrastructure that can act as a massive, soul-sucking time waster is also, simultaneously, an unprecedented engine for personal and professional opportunity. It all comes down to whether you are using the tool or allowing the tool to use you.
So, bringing all of these threads together, the core realization from all these sources is that these platforms are completely neutral.
100%.
They're not inherently good and they're not inherently evil. They simply act as a massive magnifying glass for how you choose to engage with them. They will either serve as an active force moving your life forward, giving you leverage and opportunity, or they will quietly, invisibly hold you back while you stare at other people's illusions.
Which leads to a really vital reflection point for everyone listening to this. You have to run a brutally honest audit of your own digital habits.
A digital audit.
Yeah, ask yourself, is this tool currently helping you grow, learn, and move forward in your actual life? Or is it quietly taking your time, your energy, and your attention without giving you anything of substance in return?
It requires being completely, sometimes painfully honest with yourself about your own behavior.
It's not easy.
No, it's not. Most people coast through their digital lives and never stop to actually ask that question. But confronting that reality is the exact place where meaningful change begins.
If you can honestly audit your relationship with these platforms,
Yeah.
you instantly take the power back.
Yeah.
You move from being a predictable data point for an algorithm to being the director of your own attention.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to chew on.
Oh, I love a provocative thought.
Right, and this builds on the psychology we explored earlier. So we talked at length about that dangerous trap. Awareness doesn't cancel influence.
Right, the amygdala reacting to fake morning routines.
Exactly. We discussed how your brain is deeply affected by what you watch, even if your logical mind knows it is completely staged or fake. It is a fundamental flaw in our evolutionary hardware that usually works against us.
Right.
But what if you could weaponize that exact same psychological flaw for your own benefit?
Weaponize it.
Yeah. Think about it. If your brain is inevitably going to absorb and be influenced by whatever is put in front of it, what would happen if you ruthlessly trained your algorithm to only show you the exact things you want your brain to normalize?
Oh, wow.
What if you aggressively curated your feed so that you only ever see content about the specific skills you are trying to learn? What if you only followed people who display the financial discipline you want to achieve or the creative output you want to spark?
So you're using the flaw intentionally.
Yes. If awareness doesn't cancel influence, could you essentially brainwash yourself into success just by intentionally feeding your amygdala a different set of illusions?
That is a brilliant framework. You're
Yeah.
taking the exact mechanism of conditioning that normally traps people,
Yeah.
and you're using it to engineer your own environment for growth.
Exactly.
You are actively choosing your influences, rather than letting a random algorithm dictate your reality.
It is definitely something to think about tonight, and hopefully it is something you think about right around 11 p.m., right before you tell yourself you're just going to spend 5 minutes unwinding on your phone. Until next time.